Timeline A. The Georgia Stay. The Life That Was Saved. John and Susan both walk into the yard, take Mama's hands, and say, "We're staying. We're not leaving Georgia for Texas, as we had planned." The dream shifts, the air thickens, time resumes. Narration, John's voice. There's a version of my life where Zach lived. He turned 16, then 17. He graduated high school with a drum solo that made the auditorium shake. He wore a blue tie at prom and forgot to take pictures. He played drums in the basement. He wore mismatched socks. He made up words and turned them into rhythms. He was healthy. He was brilliant. He was mine again. Mama didn't really live to see it. In this version, she passed in 2003, a few years later than she did in the life I remember. Zach lived, but Mama was still gone. Rachel never came. And Vlada was a name I only knew as a memory. I had what I thought I wanted, but this ended up being a timeline that was explored, but ultimately not chosen. Timeline B. The Life That Stayed Too Long. The Emotional Reckoning. John and Susan step back from the porch swing. They nod to each other. We'll stay together for the kids. The dream shifts. The air grows heavier. John and Susan stay together after Zach's death in 2008, trying to hold the family together for Rachel's sake. However, John and Susan still part in 2009, but with more compassion. The household was still tense, strained, and a quiet, emotionally complex portrait of stagnation, where grief was preserved, not transformed, and love was remembered more than lived. They stayed together, but the emotional cost was high grief, resentment, and the absence of true connection began to shape the household. Love can persist even when it's no longer romantic, and now Rachel has become both witness and catalyst for change. John stayed with Susan because he thought leaving would break something, but staying broke something else. Much later, Rachel left for college. Susan stayed in the house. John stayed in the past. This is the life that stayed too long, and it's the one that taught him what not to do. Timeline C. The Awakening Path. John seeks a way to wake up, but not before leaving messages or guidance for his past self. The dream shifts, the air thickens, time resumes again. John doesn't change the past directly by leaving his hints, but influences it. Perhaps subtle nudges can change fate without unraveling the fabric of reality. Encouraging earlier medical intervention for Zach, or possibly for a more peaceful divorce. He returns to Vlada, a love rediscovered, and begins honoring the past. Zach and Mama are honored through music, memory, and movement, their memory becoming a guiding light. John chooses love and legacy. Rachel and Vlada become co-creators of healing. The garden begins to bloom, not in spite of loss, but because of it. The dream has become a legend in the family, a story of love, loss, and second chances. Narration, John's voice. There's a version of my life where I didn't stay. I didn't stay in the silence. I didn't stay in the house that held too much grief. I didn't stay with Susan, not because I stopped loving her, but because love had changed, and we hadn't. Zach is gone, Mama too, but something else is born. Rachel returns, Vlada arrives, and the garden begins to grow.